It is so loud.
Hopefully it should be quieter though now. Anyway, hello everyone. This is the first stream I'm doing of this nature. Oh, I can actually move. This
Hello.
is What Remains of Edith Finch. This is a game that got pretty popular back in the day, I think when it first came out. And I'm doing a video that's going to require some games with a lot of mystery behind them. And What Remains of Edith Finch was a very good example. Oh, it just forced me to look down. Okay. So, obviously, spoilers, but you probably guessed that. I'm not going to really go out of
Yeah.
my way to not discuss spoilers, so I will have to give a heads up. I will give a heads up on that. So, if you're here for your first
Yeah.
experience, I highly suggest just going and like, find a playthrough or just play it yourself. It's on Steam.
I'm generating that will not be my experience.
Oh god. Right, your mic's glitching a bit. Hmm.
Sorry, my mic was all the way down. Anyways, that will not be my experience.
Yeah. Yeah,
Because this is my first time seeing the entire game.
I've already experienced this game in actually multiple forms, I guess you could say. But this is my first time playing it for myself. But I know the story, I know everything. So we're just gonna jump into it. And
Yeah.
if I ever stop, it's probably because I'm taking notes.
Yeah.
So here we go. Also, yes, I am being purposely vague on what
Also,
the video is about. Huh?
yeah. Also, can I just say real fast? Uh, there was. I was gonna say. Uh, it was. Uh, word. Please come back to my mind. That would be amazing if you could do that. That'd be wonderful because I wanted to say something before we truly and fully got started. Uh, was something.
I can talk for a bit
Uh,
longer to see if you
like,
can regain your memory. Because I was gonna say, this isn't the
sure.
only stream of this nature I'm going to be. I want to try and finish What Remains of Edith Finch in one stream. However, the other game that I'm going to be looking at for this video is definitely not something I can finish in one stream. So that's probably gonna need multiple. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
this
right.
basically isn't gonna be the only stream of this nature.
Yeah. I think it's because I asked you this earlier. Like, I don't know if you're called. Like, you didn't hear me, or like, or what? Because I admittedly kind of said it. Uh, I think I semi talked over you in a way. I think it was like. Anyways, I was asking when this game come out again.
Hold on a second. I probably should have had that at the ready. I mean, in the video I'll know, but for right now. It was released in 2017.
Oh, 2017. Okay, gotcha. Also, why is my Discord thing not popping? There it is. I
You're
was gonna say
also
it's not
glitching a
popping up
bit.
and showing the.
Hi, Autumn!
Hold on.
Remember,
Easier,
guys,
so I don't need to.
you better, you better behave, or else Autumn and Rye will get the brooms. Alright, I'm gonna, in the meantime, while you're
Yeah.
doing that,
Not
let's...
right now because I'm going to. Yeah, I'm gonna. I'm going to turn off and turn on again.
Start at the beginning with the house.
Here we go. Oh, that took a bit. We already get to see this game's wonderful way of, ooh, I can do that to zoom in.
I lived
Of
here until I was 11, but I
putting
wasn't allowed
text on
inside half the
screen.
rooms.
It's a very unique way of doing it, and I very much like it.
What was the dialogue that I missed? I'm sorry.
She said that a lot of this isn't gonna make sense, so we're just gonna start at the beginning with the house. And then Edith said, I lived into this place since I lived in this place since I was 11, but I wasn't allowed inside half the rooms. Oh, Autumn has a cookie? Nice. I got fries. I haven't broken into them yet, but I got fries.
I had my food earlier, so I'm good.
Inside the mailbox were bills from 7 years ago, marked urgent, open immediately.
Very interesting way of, like, I'm actually moving my mouse to open and close this. Pretty neat.
Oh.
Yeah, there it is.
I hadn't been back since my brother Lewis's funeral.
Yeah, we could just push it open. No trespassing. This property is protected by video surveillance. Well, no one lives here anymore.
In her will, my mother left me a key, but didn't tell me what it unlocked. Maybe she thought I'd know. Or she thought that the mystery would be enough to bring me back.
The Finches. Which way we want to go? It doesn't matter, so... Let's take the high road.
What? Yeah, I was gonna say, what other path is there?
It's just, going down or going up. I just chose up.
Gotcha.
Interesting detail there.
No one had driven this way in a long time, but I saw a few hoof prints.
Oh, I heard a frog.
Hello, frog.
Froggy, froggy, froggy. Oh. Pretty. This game is so fucking pretty.
The truth is,
oh.
even after I inherited the house, I never thought I'd come back to it. But now I had questions about my family that only the house knew the answers to. The house was exactly like I remembered it, the way I'd been dreaming about it.
Nightmare is what it is.
Yeah, I get vertigo just looking at that. My fear of heights could never. My ass could never and would never.
Oh, there's the dragon.
I asked Edie once about the dragon in the pond. She said it had killed her husband. I was 6. It seemed like an odd joke to me, even then.
It's not a joke. Well, not really. One of the things I appreciate about this game is the visuals. I love the storytelling above all else, but the visuals are just amazing.
Yeah, also, yeah, let's just not tell the 6-year-old that that's a joke. Let's not pull the punches.
The house
just like
made me uncomfortable in a way I couldn't put into words.
I mean, in a way, it's not really a joke.
Yeah, exactly. That's just like, you don't a 6-year-old that? Jesus fucking Christ on a cross. Anyway, and yeah, I don't blame you, Edith.
Missing.
I don't.
Milton Finch.
Oh, of course.
It's all over the place. Yeah. Age of disappearance. I think that says 11.
Oh, Jesus fucking Christ.
Now,
Yeah, this is gonna get dark, hon.
I knew exactly what those words were.
Oh, by the way, Edith is only...
I was afraid of the house.
17.
Jesus Christ.
This gets
I
dark,
hoped the key might unlock the front door. It didn't. Looking in, I felt like the house itself had been waiting for me.
Cluttered. No one's been here in a long time. And this isn't a horror game by any means, but it's scary in a way. Unsettling.
Yeah, I think it's that isolation. Like, it's kind of your nerves going.
Yeah, what doesn't help is how big the house is.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
makes you feel small.
here we go. Crawling in through the doggy door.
Crawling through the doggy door used to be a lot easier when I was 11.
I imagine. God, she hasn't
And
been
so
here
the
in
last time
6
she was...
years.
Yeah, okay, I was gonna say, so she hasn't been here since she was 11.
Yeah. She grew up in this place, but she hasn't been here since she was 11, and she's 17 now.
Yeah, so how does the house fall into this much disrepair in 6 fucking years? Jesus fuck.
Well, it kind of always was.
For the first time in years,
January 2010.
I felt like I was home.
Yeah, here we are. It's fucking surreal, honestly.
Yeah, I think that's also what's scary about, like, abandoned houses in the day.
But
Like,
instead of a
have you ever
family,
seen
there
those,
were
like...
just memories of one.
Have you ever seen, like, those, like, overgrown houses? Like, that are abandoned?
Yeah.
Like, I think that's the terrifying thing about, like, abandoned or burned down houses, and just, like, but they're in the middle of daylight, so it doesn't have that, like, horror factor, and it's just instead just, like, spooky and uncomfortable. That's why, because you see elements of living, of life that was once there, of... I remember I watched one video, of a YouTuber. I'm not gonna say the name now, because, from what I understand, he's a shitty person, but, anyway, at the time I watched this video and his house like burned down in like an electrical fire. Not completely, but a lot of things were like burning around him and he had to like leave his house behind. And he ended up going back after the fire went out, and the whole place was covered in ash and dust, and like broken things like fell over, and all his like I think he had like amiibos, and like those were like covered in like soot, and it was so spooky to see like all these like modern things, all these like objects you'd be familiar with that like you could tell it was lived in, to suddenly just like have nobody there. It's nothing but maybe like some like groaning music in the background, and just it seems like while there was life in there, and even though the life that was there is exploring it, it just doesn't feel natural by how simultaneously dead it feels inside with how it burnt down. I think that's the spookiest thing of all. When it comes to horror, and what places are horrifying, are it's usually like hospitals, or like it's usually hospitals, or uh like it's usually hospitals, houses, or it could be like a lot of indie, because of FNAF, a lot of indie games don't go with that, like Chuck E. Cheese place. Um, like a lot of these, like arcades and things, a lot of these places were, at the very least once, full of life. Yeah, maybe sick life in the hospital variety, but they were still at one point full of life. And to suddenly be
Hi, Bright.
alone in those places, like schools too, like high schools, like Japanese high schools, to have these places that were once filled with people, filled with life, and in like homes you could see the personality of the people who lived it, to suddenly have that life gone, for you to just see the ashy remains of things scattered around, but not necessarily organized in any meaningful way, and to just be by yourself there, it feels creepy because it feels wrong. Like exploring a zombie of a place.
Something.
That's the best way I can put it, is that it feels like you're crawling into a zombie of a house.
A lot of things that feels creepy about this game are unsettling. Stuff like this. Like, on one side, this is a perfect example. On one side, you see, like, a happy family. You know, they're getting together for a birthday party. Dawn, Edith, Edie, Lewis. And then on the other
Eddie?
side, Edie.
It's supposed to be Edie. That's
Yeah,
weird. Anyway, sorry.
it's Edie and Edith. Because they're both named Edith, but one's called Edie to prevent confusion. But, Dawn, Edith, Edie, and Lewis. And then you look to the other side, in loving memory of Lewis Finch.
So what's the date?
November 21st, 2010.
And no, the other one.
Oh. This one doesn't have the date, unfortunately.
No. The other date besides 2010 on the thing, hun.
Oh, you mean date of birth. December 27th, 1988.
88.
This guy was like,
98.
22.
He was 22?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, I think my heart just sank.
It gets worse.
Oh god.
Speaking of places that seem very lived in, there's still takeout containers here.
Like how
Yeah.
a restaurant would deliver to our house, so we had Chinese a lot.
Oh god, I would hate that. My
How after Lewis started working at the cannery, we all got sick of eating salmon. Except our cat, Molly.
Yeah, I could never fucking do having just like only that food be the only delivery that was like willing to go all the way at I would never be able to. I'm sorry. I'm having like Chinese food day in day out. Besides just like home cooked meals, fucking god.
I mean, you've told me how
That's
sick you are of spaghetti.
Yeah, because that is the cheapest, quote unquote, healthy food. That is the cheapest, quote unquote, healthy food that
killing everyone but sparing the furniture.
That is like the poor family, like, healthy dinner of the night. And I hated it because just like I had it so much.
Bright says Dambro died young. Oh, we saw a missing poster for an 11-year-old out in front. Like, when I said it gets worse, it gets worse.
Yeah, this game is not gonna pull punches, my guy.
Yeah, yeah, I'm going to give a more specific trigger warning when we get close to it, but this game gets heavy. So if you're sensitive to themes of family death, I suggest maybe don't watch this stream.
Yeah.
Also, the name on the wheelchair is Edie.
My mom was the only one of us who could imagine Great-Grandma Edie living in a nursing home.
Yeah, Great-Grandma Edie. All of it's still left from the day.
Yeah.
Nothing in the house.
Again, like I said,
there was just too much of it, like a smile with too many teeth.
I don't like that. Anyways, but yeah, I think if there's any game that would like point to what I mean by zombie of a place, it'd be this. Like it feels lived in. It feels like it should be lived.
Edie told me the bricks came from the original house after it sank.
The original house, right? We're gonna learn about that. Don't worry.
Yeah. Anyways, I'm trying to talk, Edith. Anyways, I feel like, just like it's something that should be living, that should have life, or at least that once had life. That's dead, and it feels dead, and you know it is. I think
Yeah.
that's what makes horror so horrifying, is because horror is when something is wrong and you can tell that it's wrong.
Yeah.
That's what makes horror effective. It's something that unsettles you to the point of being horrifying because you know, at least subconsciously, that's wrong.
That's actually one of the reasons I'm using this game alongside the other one, because not to spoil the game I'm going to be doing after this, because you guys will see it in the next research stream. That one's a horror game to an extent, and this one isn't. But if you told someone this was meant to be like, I guess horror light, I feel like they'd believe you, because it's
Yeah, no,
very
I believe you.
unsettling.
I believe you right now, right here.
Cause
I
you're,
believe you.
cause you're right. It feels lived in, but it just isn't. Bugs.
Yeah. And
Mom always told me to
so
stay out of the
something.
basement, so I wasn't too surprised when the key didn't fit.
So yeah, I think that's what's always like wrong, is that it's either the setting or the creatures lying inside.
Barbara Finch. Like, this game is a monster away from being a horror game.
Oh, absolutely, or at least some element of a scare.
A lot of things
Not
got
even just a
left behind in
monster.
the whirlwind of that last night.
That last night.
Edie told me once that every Finch who ever lived is buried somewhere in the library.
Yeah, we're gonna hear. This definitely is not the last time we'll be hearing about Edie. We hear about her a lot.
Yeah.
Here we
My
go.
mom wasn't much of an optimist, but she never stopped believing that my brother Milton was alive.
Yeah, that's why he's only missing.
Yeah. I do have to say though that.
Oh, the storytelling here. Look at that. For context, it's little mail slots for each member of the family that we've heard of so far. Edie, Dawn, which is Edith's mother, Milton, Lewis, and Edith. Milton does not have any letters in his box. Milton is the one who went missing.
Yeah. So isn't it like, I think I heard a small thing of like the peepholes are used a lot to look into rooms that you can't get into, right?
After Milton disappeared,
Yeah.
Mom sealed up all the bedrooms.
And we're about to learn
then
about
Edie
them.
retaliated and drilled peepholes.
Like right here. Yeah, this is Molly's room.
Molly always seemed like a girl I could imagine being friends with, if she hadn't died in 1947.
Oh, this goes way back, yeah. Also, the years on the door, 1937 to 1947.
She was 10.
Yeah. And remember, that's a confirmed death. It's not like Milton where she went missing. Oh, here's Barbara, 1944 to 1960.
45.
Barbara was a
That's
child star
16.
for 2 years.
Oh,
until
Jesus.
America grew out of it.
She was a child star.
Oh, no. I already.
Yeah,
That already makes
she
me think of
is.
what could have happened.
Whenever people ask me about my family, the first thing they always want to know about is Barbara.
My Friend Bigfoot, starring Barbara Finch. I'm pretty sure there are more down here. Yeah, there's 3. Sven and Edie. Sven Hosfield Finch, 1915 to 1964, and Edie, 1917 to 2010.
Okay, so.
The last time I was in Edith Sr.'s room, I was 10 and she was painting my portrait.
Was a year ago before the. Okay, so. 15 to 64.
Sven would have been 49, I believe. And
Not,
Edie would have been 93.
not okay, Edie makes sense. Sven died, like, halfway through his life. That's still a life cut pretty short, all things considered.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the shortest, that's for damn sure, but that is really short.
Calvin and Sam. Calvin, 1950 to 1961. He
But
was
no
also
Sam.
11.
My Grandpa Sam spent 7 years sharing a room with his
Oh.
dead brother, Calvin.
Oh, Jesus, fuck.
As
He
in,
shared a room.
they don't mean with the dead body. They mean he
Yeah, I
spent
would
7
assume.
years in here after his brother has died. Gregory.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. 1976 to 1977.
Jesus Christ.
As a kid, I just assumed every house had peepholes and sealed rooms you weren't allowed inside of.
You'll notice this one isn't a bedroom.
It's a bathroom?
You can probably guess what happened to Gregory, but we'll learn more about that later.
I can probably get. Oh.
Mom must have locked the third floor stairs on the night we left.
Okay. Right, I remember what we have to do here, though, so there is that. Here's the one unlocked room.
I spent a lot of time playing in Great Uncle Walter's room. I think my mom sometimes regretted not sealing it up.
Great Uncle Walter's room.
Lewis told me there were secret passages, but I never believed him.
Oh.
Here's how we get into every room. There are secret passages, is the simple answer.
Turns out, my mom was really good at keeping secrets. Now it was time to find out what my mom had been afraid of.
Oh, I don't like that music.
From the paintings on the wall, it was clear my brother Milton had been here before me.
Yeah, he signed his name. Milton was an artist. But a lot of the Finches were creatives in some way.
Reading this, maybe it sounds like I had a plan. But I had no idea what was behind that door.
Here we go. First room.
Just like I had no idea where all this was gonna lead.
Now, you can probably recognize from the scenery, but the names spelled it out
I got
for
the sense
us.
Edie had spent a lot of time here. Before my mom sealed the doors.
Molly. I'm not going to look at that just yet. We're going to look around a bit more. Are you okay, hun?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm just.
December 1947.
Right, so this is the first room we looked in, right?
Yeah, this is Molly's room. The, 10-year-old. Unfortunately...
I grew up looking at Molly's room through the peephole. Being inside for the first time, I felt like I'd stepped behind a painting.
Nope, didn't mean to do that.
Molly's gerbil had a tiny bedroom with an even tinier gerbil cage.
That's kind of cute. A jellyfish. And there's Molly. Orcas, island calves. A lot of animals in general. Can I go in here? No, I cannot. Rocking horse. Little ant farm. Yeah, she loved animals from the looks of things. Oh, I didn't even realize there's a... I believe that's an elk skull. And a map with the house. Just magnifying glass on her room. You okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
Just making sure.
Yeah, no, I'm fine with this. Like, I might get, like, shot about how...
1947. Dear Diary, I'll be gone soon, but I wanted to tell somebody about what's gonna happen. It started when Mom sent me to bed without dinner. I woke up and I was starving, so I looked around for something to eat.
Now, we're playing as Molly.
Okay, really fast before we move on, I do want to say that I'm okay with, like, family death. I might get shocked about how young everyone dies, but I have no sensitivity to it. I am fine.
Yeah,
If
and
I'm
this is
upset...
also why, if I said if anyone's sensitive to this stuff, they should probably leave, because a lot of these kids are young.
Yeah, really fucking young. But point being, I am going to be fine. If I get upset, I will say something. And, like, will, like, take a mental, like, recharge and break for seconds. But for now, I'm okay.
Or even
I might be quiet, but I'm just more so thinking.
something you might notice. Yeah, we're smaller now. We're not as big as Edith.
The gerbil food was dry, but I didn't mind it.
Oh.
She was sent to bed without dinner.
Mom, can I come out now?
Sweetheart, it's late. Go to sleep.
My Halloween candy was all gone.
And the calendar, yeah, still December.
I thought about eating Christopher, but I held back.
Christopher. Literally thought about eating her pet fish.
I ate a lot of things that night.
Oh, no, not Holly.
I kept eating.
Okay, real quick plant facts that I do know. Oh god. Real quick plant facts I do know. Holly, or either that or mistletoe, or could be both, that is poison.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Then I heard chirping outside my window. It was a barn swallow going back to her nest. I reached out for her.
You're not gonna expect what happens.
And suddenly, I was a cat. I tried to be quiet, but the bird was really scared. Mom and Dad didn't even look at me.
They're in there.
I jumped and I almost got her. I could tell she was getting really tired. Now I was up in the big tree. I promised Dad I wouldn't climb it anymore. All I cared about was eating that mama bird. I gobbled her up.
Jesus.
And suddenly, I was an owl. First, all I heard was the wind. Then I heard little teeth nibbling in the grass.
I'm not actually sure how I fly down.
Rabbits.
Yeah, maybe a it does it automatically. There we go.
I imagined his face looking up and seeing mine through my talons. I swallowed him up, and I didn't chew one bit. Then I flew off to find something bigger. A mama rabbit. She was almost too big to carry. I
Great
started
owl.
choking, but I
Catch two
couldn't
rabbits
stop
with only
eating.
2 swoops. Oh, I can hear a heartbeat.
Suddenly, I was a shark.
Here we go. Whee!
Help. Help. Ah! Here I go! This is a bit of a weird sequence, if you haven't noticed.
Yeah.
I rolled off the cliff and into the ocean.
Can you imagine what that guy in the car was thinking?
I was hungrier than ever.
Yeah.
No, I'm just swinging it automatically, okay.
I wanted fat, juicy seals. I tore off her flipper, and it tasted really good.
I'm having trouble honing in on the sail. Just letting myself get immersed in the moment, keeps away the shock of what's going on, you know?
I grabbed on
I
tightly.
think with how many mama things are being eaten, I think
When I
I'm
opened
starting
my
to
eyes,
see
everything
what's
changed.
actually happening.
Yeah, here we go. It's this part. We're getting real into the thick of it now. Tell me, what do you think is actually happening?
Okay, so far the thought is she's hallucinating from like either being at death's door or because of all the shit she ate. And there's cannibalism going on, specifically with her mother.
Now I was a monster. And I
Well,
smelled people.
Your
everywhere.
hallucination is very similar to the other theories people have had, but no cannibalism is involved, specifically because her mother, Edie, was still alive long after her.
Oh, that's Edie.
Yeah,
Yeah, I didn't know that was her then.
yeah.
So I guess this is her way of venting then?
I
Or
was
like, or at
big,
least her
and
like
I needed
dream
real
self-hallucination is venting? Taking it out on quote-unquote mama by eating a lot of mama animals?
Well,
That was my other thought.
maybe a little that, but the accepted theory is that Molly is basically having a hunger-induced, induced by a lot of the stuff she ate,
Also, I didn't.
fever dream while she's on death's door.
Oh.
And because of her hunger, she had no desire but to eat in her dream. Even if it meant eating people. Now, you'll notice I say accepted theory. Because there's never
We don't
actually
get
been...
confirmed.
No, we don't get a confirmation of a lot of things.
After the last passenger, I was still hungry. And to cross the water, I smelled something new. Something I had to have, so I swam towards it.
Here we go.
I slithered onto the sand, and the good smell went into an old pipe.
Can you guess where this is going? Because a lot of people didn't, and I certainly didn't.
Oh shit!
Yeah, you picked up immediately.
I got closer and closer. All of my stomach started growling. And suddenly, I was me again. I held my breath for a long time, but I couldn't hear anything. I think it's waiting for me to fall asleep. But it's not going to wait much longer. It needs to feed, and we both know I will be delicious.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I believed all of that, but I'm sure Edie would have.
Yeah, that's Edie's kid.
Oh, so me, Lewis.
So there are 3 generations in this house. Technically 4 if we count Edie and Sven. And we just saw Molly's story. She, technically speaking, wasn't the first to die, but I guess the best way to put it, she was the first of the children to die. And look, filling out this notebook.
Good God.
How you feeling?
Holy shit. So, Jesus Christ, holy fuck. And the chain's gone too.
This will be obvious
Yep.
later, but my mom never told me any of these stories. Edie would have, but Mom didn't like bringing up the past. Though, when we adopted a stray kitten, she was the one who named it Molly. I spent a lot of time in Great-Grandma Edie's room.
They had a stray cat that they named Molly.
Mm.
Even the pets got portraits, huh? Oh.
Pets are family after all.
Lewis died a week before we left, but Edie had already started to memorialize him.
You'll notice a
Edie
pattern.
knit me a new pair of gloves every year, just in time to replace the old ones.
You'll notice a pattern that Edie is always much too prepared to honor a death. Speaking of,
Her room was like a museum.
Odin Finch joining the Great Majority. The Mysteries of Death and Thereafter by Edith Finch. Or Odin.
Who's a writer?
1880 to
1880
1937.
1937. So that's...
He was 57 at the time of his death.
Okay, still midway through
For
life.
500 years, the Finches have been famous throughout Norway for their fortune and misfortune.
500 years.
Odin Finch buried the latest victims of the family curse, his wife Ingeborg and their newborn son, Johann. On January 7th, 1937, he set sail with his family and his house, hoping to leave the curse behind. But 40-foot
And
waves
his
off the coast of
house?
Washington
Yep.
send the house and Odin to the bottom of the sea.
Remember how Edith mentioned the fireplace was made with the bricks of the original house? This
Oh
is the
shit, it
original
got destroyed.
house. It was used as a boat, basically.
Odin's daughter Edith,
Christ.
with husband Sven and baby Molly, step ashore on their new home, Orcas Island.
And baby Molly.
Odin Finch is the first to be buried in the new family cemetery. His daughter Edie is already dreaming of a new Finch house.
Of note, the... how do I get out of this? Hold on, I'm trying to get out of this thing. Because every button I press it won't let me. Tab, Shift, Enter, E? Yeah, that just goes through it all again. There we go. Of note... Oh.
Whatever's wrong with this family, it goes back a long ways.
Yeah. But of note, the cemetery was built before the house. Here we are on the other side of the people. Let's see. Where can we find the thing? Ah, here it is, just on
When
the
Edie
other
told
side.
people Sven was killed by a dragon, she could also have said he was building a dragon-shaped slide that collapsed. She could have, but she didn't.
Yeah, it wasn't really a joke when she said the dragon killed her husband. Built 1937, Sven Finch. You still there, hon? You doing okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just making sure. Molly Concepts, Barbara Concepts, mural sketches. Oh.
One summer, they evacuated the island, but Edie refused to go. For a few weeks, she was a celebrity.
72-year-old woman refused to evacuate because of a little forest fire. Edie won't go.
I hadn't thought of myself as Edith Jr. for a long, long time.
Edith Jr. Lake Trip, Sam Photo Award, Conspiracy Now, Weird America, The Finches, Home Movies, My Friend Bigfoot, Edith Interview, Random Junk, Mole Man Beneath the Finch
Edie
House.
gave a big interview about a mole man living under the Finch house. My mom was furious.
I want you to keep that mole man in mind, because we're gonna learn more about him later.
Oh no.
Even in the 90s, sometimes Edie seemed a lot younger than my mother.
Oh, yeah, here we go.
The only trace Grandpa Sam's first wife, Kay, left on the house was the pink bathroom. It was a pretty big trace.
Do you recognize it?
Oh, that was the bathroom from earlier.
It was the one used to memorialize Gregory. A lot of pills.
Oh shit.
Alright, we need to go back out. The only way is through here. Come on. Come on, Edith. I know you can do it. You did it before. Come on, I thought that was the only way to get out. Don't tell me there's another way you're not showing me. Because I don't... Unless Is there a spot in the bathroom we're meant to leave from? Oh, yeah, there is. My bad. There's a secret in this bathroom by Sven and Edie Finch.
There's a secret in this bathroom. It's in the last place you would look. It isn't in the cupboard. It's hidden in this book.
There we go. More places behind. Oh, Calvin Finch. The swing. Couple turns land into a native haven. Murder probe clues exhausted.
Sven gave Sam an old camera he'd refurbished. He never put it down.
Oh, he was a photographer.
Yeah, like I said, a lot of the Finch family were creatives. There are artists. Sven's a builder. Sam's a photographer. Edith is also an artist of her own. Milton. Yeah. Traces of Milton. Here's the twins' room.
Oh, it stops at one point.
But one and the other keeps going. Here's Sam. And there's Calvin. Fort Calvin and Fort Sam.
That must be so weird to get the first marking of your new heights in some other time.
I knew
And you
Grandpa
look
Sam had a
over
twin.
and your sibling isn't there to do it with you.
Your twin.
And that he never
Yeah,
talked
your
about
twin
him.
no less.
Based on the fact that they were both brothers, it's likely they were identical twins.
I guess my grandpa didn't like history any more than my mom did.
God, it's so cramped. Here we go. There's Calvin. Alright.
How I Want to Remember My Brother by Sam Finch. The thing I remember is that when he made up his mind, that was it. My brother said he'd die before he ate another mushroom, and he did. At Barbara's funeral, we swore we'd never be afraid again, and he wasn't. I think Calvin always wanted to fly.
God.
Dinner's ready.
Coming! But that day, he finally made up his mind to do it.
His feet are all twitchy, but I'm pretty sure that's just a
I told him going around was impossible.
graphical glitch.
Maybe if I hadn't said that.
Oh, God.
I'm not gonna tell you again.
Maybe if the wind hadn't picked up. And maybe he'd still be here. But I doubt it. I think he'd already made up his mind. That's what I want to remember about my brother.
Oh, God.
The day he made up his mind to fly. And he did.
Calvin's story felt strangely familiar. When I was younger, I remember trying to do the exact same thing.
Oh God, girl, no.
An interesting
must
thing about that sequence is that Calvin had a cast on one of his legs. So clearly, this wasn't the first time an accident had happened.
After the funeral, Edie roped off Calvin's half of the room.
Yeah.
Mom said Grandpa Sam enlisted at 18 and never set foot in the room again.
I can see why, to be frank. No. A lot of insect imagery in this family.
Why? Because the story gives people the heebie-jeebies?
The passages were a pretty tight
I just
fit.
thought it was interesting.
They'd obviously been built for smaller hands and bellies.
Oh, here we go.
Growing up, I always thought of Barbara as a child star. I never thought about how hard it must have been for her afterwards.
It's like this room is dedicated to, like, you know, her fame, and then this room is just her. Oh. Yeah, right.
Of all the stories people wrote about Barbara's death, I'm surprised Edie saved this one.
Old Jack here with another ghastly tale inspired by America's most unfortunate family. I'm calling it The Surprise Ending of Barbara Finch. As a child star, Barbara was famous for her scream. Now at 16, she was all washed up. A has-been. But in a lucky break, she'd been asked to perform her signature scream at a local convention for monster movie fans. It was just the boost her career needed. Unfortunately, her scream hadn't aged well.
Getting better. I think you just need the right motivation.
Her biggest fan and current boyfriend, Rick, was about to demonstrate when...
Now that was a great scream.
It was Barbara's father, Sven. He'd slipped into a table saw and had to be rushed to the emergency room. So Barbara got stuck babysitting her youngest brother, Walter. Her convention comeback was canceled.
Okay, I'm hearing frustration, but I'm not hearing terror. What if I tried...
A gang of hoodlums in Halloween masks have been terrorizing Orcas Island tonight. Police are urging residents to...
That came from the basement.
You're right! Also, I loved your delivery on that. Why is your basement door locked?
Because my dad likes making puzzles and secret passages. There's a key hidden in the music box.
Yeah, also, this fucking boyfriend sucks.
And
Yeah.
winding until finally the key pops out.
Thanks, babe. I'll be back in a sec.
20 minutes later, Rick hadn't returned. So Barbara went to look for him, right on cue. She reached for the music box. And as she wound the key, she She listened for Rick, but the house was silent.
Oh god, the Halloween music.
And imagine the worst.
The gang's leader is the infamous Hookman killer, Dr. Carl Hamill, who impaled and then ate his family 10 years ago tonight.
The old fridge rattled and grew still.
Oh dear! Rick?
Barb, relax. I was just trying to scare you to help you find your scream.
Well, I'm not scared, Rick. I'm furious.
Then act furious. All I'm getting from you now is that you're hurt and confused and you're...
She threw him out, but she kept a little something to remember him by.
Barb, have you seen my other crutch?
And she was still holding it when she fell asleep watching the Late Late Picture Show. Hours later...
Barbara! Walter, what's going on up there? Ah! Okay, I'm coming up, but if this is a trick, you're dead, Walter. Walter, are you there?
Walter had vanished, but his bedside radio was still on.
Orcas Island police describe the man as 6 feet tall, with a steel hook for a hand. Residents are urged to lock all doors and windows and notify the police of any suspicious activity.
Barbara turned, saw the hook man, and was speechless. He was quite smashing. And where he was, he couldn't get enough of Barbara.
Okay, Barbara, there's gotta be another way out of here.
That night, she played her part beautifully. Molly's door hadn't been opened in years. The hinges groaned. He wasn't moving, but she sensed the story might not be over yet. The hookman had vanished. She listened for his breathing, but all she heard was... At the door, she heard whispering. It was coming from inside the house.
Oh dear.
The monsters had come to surprise her. For Barbara, it was a dream come true. Then she saw what kind of monsters they were, and she realized what was about to happen. She was going to be famous. And with her final breath, Barbara Finch gave the performance of her life. I wasn't there myself, but I hear Barbara was magnificent. Poor girl. She had a taste for stardom. But unfortunately, so did her fans. Of course, the police blamed it all on poor Rick, who disappeared the same night. And little Walter, hiding under his bed the whole time. He took it all pretty hard, but that's another story. As for Barbara, tucked inside the music box is all they ever found of her. Her ear. Now that's what I call a real eerie tale.
Edie told me all Barbara wanted was to be remembered, as absurd as that comic was. Maybe what Edie saw was a happy ending.
Yeah, I thought that's... I think I understand the allegory that they're going for with that one.
Much like Molly, Barbara's true death is theorized and debated because of the way it's told. But one thing we can know for sure, that on Barbara's memorial, Edie chose to place this comic.
Probably because it was a horrifying murder by obsessive
I guess
fans,
now
and...
I know why Mom didn't like me playing with the music box.
And what?
Probably because her fans were the one that murdered her, but the way in that they were monsters was what they did to her beforehand. At least I can only assume.
Also, something that's been pointed out is that there are a lot of specifics in that comic that someone wouldn't just know unless they lived in the house. Alright, also, there is signs of a struggle here. Similar to what happened in the comic. When I mean there's a lot of specifics they wouldn't know unless they lived in the house, I meant it.
Yeah, I figured that was true.
There it is. And you can assume the little figure is meant to be Barbara based on the Bigfoot in the background, and well, the music box does have her name on it.
Mom said the basement was off limits, unless I wanted another tetanus shot.
Yeah, another dragon.
Yeah, and look at that. There's a saw.
I saw Edie sneak down to the basement once, carrying packages. I thought maybe she was hiding presents.
Remember how I said to remember the mole man?
It turned out she was hiding a lot more than that. I remember asking Mom once about where Walter had gone. She said after Barbara died, he got as far away as he could. If there's a pattern in all these stories, I think it's that none of us has gotten very far.
He did hide under his bed.
He didn't just hide under his bed. He hid under the house. Walter is the mole man, quote unquote. Even has his name on the bed. Walter. 1952 to 2005. He was 53.
Goodbye, everyone. I can't believe I've been down here for 30 years. On that first day, after the shaking started, I didn't think I'd survive a week. But after a few days, I settled into a routine. That's what kept me sane. Having a schedule, living for today. I always expected to be dead tomorrow. But if you wait long enough, you get used to anything. Even a monster on the other side of a door starts to feel normal. Almost friendly. And then one day, everything just stopped. Whatever that thing was, it was gone. Maybe it got tired of waiting. Or maybe I just got tired of being afraid. It's been a week now, the longest in 30 years. I'm done waiting. I have to leave while I still can. I know it's out there somewhere. Whatever killed Barbara and Molly and Calvin. Maybe this is all a mistake. But I need to stop living the same day, even if it kills me. Whatever's out there, I want you to know I'm ready for it. I'm going to appreciate all of it, especially the food. I don't mind if I only have a year left, or a month, or a single week. I'd be happy with one new day. I can already imagine the sun on my face.
Walter died when I was 6. I can't believe my mom never told me he was down here. I'm sure my mom was trying to protect me.
What happened to Barbara, specifically in it being shown that Walter witnessed all of it, was clearly too much for him, and he decided to hide under the house. So one day he grew
Maybe
tired
she was
of it.
afraid I'd end up like Walter.
Now we're gonna walk that same
But if she
trail.
never told me about an uncle under the house, I can only imagine what else she was hiding.
Here it is.
I don't want to make the same mistakes she made.
Hammer and
Trying
everything.
to bury something that's still alive.
There he is.
Now that there's only one of us left, or maybe two, I thought it was time I heard the stories for myself and found out what happened to everyone else. But now I'm worried the stories themselves might be the problem. Maybe we believed so much in a family curse, we made it real.
How you holding up, hon?
I don't know if I should even be writing
I'm
this.
doing good.
Just making sure.
Maybe it'd be better if all this just died with me. But I thought you should know about your family.
I thought you should know about your family.
Here's the old house.
Though to be honest, I feel as lost as you probably do right now. I think the people in these stories believed them, for what that's worth.
The people in these stories believed them.
And when you look at the house, that history of imagination and stubbornness and madness, any of it seems possible.
There's the swing. It's wrapped around the tree.
I forgot taken down.
I think we've been surrounded by
another
death for so long,
wave
we've just
memorial.
gotten used to it. What kind of family finishes building a cemetery before starting the house?
Finches.
It's embarrassing for me to admit this, but the pet cemetery made me more uncomfortable than the human one.
Christopher, that's the goldfish, Shadow, cat.
3 of the gerbils are mine, and 2 had been my fault.
Derpy, Derpy Jr., Burpy, Chirpy, Furpy, Lurpy, Zerpy, Zoe, Coco, Tucker, Charlie, Daisy, Lucy, Shadow, Oliver, Bob, Christopher, Shatsy, Bailey. A lot of dead pets.
Sven built the house, but it was Edie who designed the cemetery.
Molly Finch, Calvin Finch, Sven, Edie Finch, Walter, Barbara.
I'm sure Odin's monument had been Edie's idea. My mom was always trying to move on, but for Edie, the past never went away. Her dad had been pretty strict, but it wasn't enough to save her brothers. She was just trying to do better.
Gregory Finch, Sam Finch, Gus Finch. Milton Finch. Sanjay Kumar.
She lost 2 of her brothers,
Louis
just like I
Finch.
did. I get why she tried so hard to protect us. So many things I wish I could ask my mom now. Part of me thinks this is what she wanted all along. For me to come back someday and find everything out for myself.
Warning, I'm gonna give a more specific heads up, but the game gets a lot heavier from here.
But looking back on it now, if she told me there was going to be so much climbing, I never would have come when I was 22 weeks pregnant.
Oh. That's why she said.
This is actually something you can pick up on, not only from something Edith said earlier, like smaller bodies and bellies, but also if at any point you just decide to look down, you can see the visible bump.
Oh, I didn't notice. And isn't she?
They were both pretty intense.
And you said she was 17, right?
Yeah, Edith is 17.
Jesus
Sam
fucking
said his dad
Christ.
photos, but Mom said he got nervous.
Oh no, girl.
I guess we're all afraid of something.
U.S. Marines. 1950 to 1983. This is the other twin.
Instead of hiding from death, Sam seemed to go out of his way to meet it.
Don't mind me poking around a bit before we continue on.
Yeah, 17? No, girl, no.
Dawn, I promise, you'll never forget this weekend.
Yes, sir.
These memories are gonna last a lifetime.
Mm-hmm. Am I gonna have to shoot anything?
It's a hunting trip, Dawn. Shooting is strongly encouraged. Not quite.
I'm just trying to zoom in here. Oh, there we go.
What?
Perfect.
It's gonna rain the whole weekend, isn't it? Please just take the damn picture.
Hey, language.
I will never forget this weekend, Dad.
That's the spirit.
Odin Finch National Park.
Okay, got it.
I'm gonna take some pictures, okay?
Just be careful. That camera's older than you are.
You're right, Dad. It's starting to clear up. Still freezing.
Hey!
That's a keeper.
Did she just catch a picture of him peeing?
I'm just saying, I'm not always gonna be here, Dawn. You'll need to remember this stuff, if you want to survive.
I'll be fine, Dad.
You know who else thought he was gonna be fine?
Some guy who died.
Dawn, I'm being serious.
I know, Dad. You're always serious. Doesn't being out here make you want to chill out?
Well, to tell you the truth, I haven't been out here in 20 years. Dawn, don't you think you could find something more interesting to photograph? Last time I was with my brother Calvin. Man, that was a great trip.
Calvin.
Your grandpa Sven taught us how to fish.
Dad!
Good eyes, Dawn. Before you take the shot, let me get a picture of you.
Dad, I...
Just breathe. Turn off your imagination. Focus on your target. Let me get behind you.
Do I have to do this?
Dawn, you don't have to do anything. But if you want to survive, you'll need to be strong. Now keep yourself squared up. Great shot, Dawn! I'm proud of you, Dawn. Always remember that, okay?
Dad, it's twitching. I think
That's
it's
totally normal, Dawn. Just focus on the camera. Try not to think about—
Dad!
Oh, fuck.
Of all these stories, that's the one I wish most that my mom had told me.
For context, just so you make sure you picked up on it, we just saw the death of Sam, but who was also there was Dawn, Edith's mother. As a child,
Oh, shit.
she watched her father die. Also, use this envelope to order reprints and enlargements. Do not cut negatives and stripes. Order by negative or size number when applicable. It's an order form. Edie likely had these sent out to get developed.
That has to be salt in the wound, though.
For Dawn, definitely.
Just like, oh, hey there, one of my grandbabies. Let me just develop the photo of your father's death that you saw.
After Sam died, my mom and Edie got really close. They'd both lost a lot.
Hold on, let me double check. Edie, Sam, Dawn. Yeah, that was Edie's son. And even then, well, clearly she doesn't care even if it's family, but yeah. Okay, another serious heads up.
Oh, right, the 1-year-old.
Yeah, we're about to see his death sequence, so yeah. Serious heads up for that one. Leave right now if, this makes you too uncomfortable. Giving you all a heads up. So, take the time now. Okay.
It's divorce, too.
Divorce contract.
Dear Kay, do you remember the way Gregory used to laugh when he thought he was alone? Like something funny was happening, but only he could see it. I think he saw things the rest of us don't.
Gregory, it's time to... Hold on, sweetie. Hello?
Do you recognize the bathroom?
Ma'am, I told you...
Oh, no.
reminded me so much of Calvin. Lost in his imagination. Whatever it was he saw. It sure made him happy. I know how silly it sounds. That I worried about a baby being too happy. But I could feel him slipping away.
Sorry about that, Gregory.
I know you did everything you could. Maybe if I hadn't called that night. There's so much I don't understand about Gregory. About everything.
Oh, fuck.
But I know what happened wasn't your fault.
Oh, that poor kid.
I'm sure he's happy. And he'd want you to be happy too. Good luck, Kay. Love, Sam.
It's not the only death we see that's a bit fantastical, but it's the one that when
It's
you
the
think
most
about
straightforward.
it, yeah, when you think about it, it's the most straightforward. Gregory drowned in the bath due to being temporarily unattended. And around his memorial are the bath toys, and instead of looking into a baby's room, we look into the bathroom where it happened. This is an amazing game, and it really makes you feel things, but
I can't imagine my mom ever writing poetry and
goddamn. It hits hard.
God.
And now, Gus. 1969 to 1982. So he was 13.
A poem for Gus, who always said the wedding was a bad idea. Our father never hit us kids, at least not very hard, before the day my brother said with teenage disregard that he'd be dead before he'd see a wedding in our yard. My father made him come, of course, but Gus stood far apart, just flew his kite and bottled up the storm inside his heart.
This game has amazing visuals.
I tried to talk him out of it, but though he'd never met her, we don't need a stepmom were the words that I remember.
Husband and wife. You may kiss the bride.
the time for photos came, Dad ordered him to come here. But Gus declined, and as a sign held up his middle finger. The wind picked up, and panicked geese appeared and quickly went. But all the humans did that day was go inside the tent. The rain came down in buckets then, but no one seemed afraid that nature might destroy the tent our dad had crudely made. The thunder sounded much too close and full of angry power. But all my father said to this was, "Make the music louder." I wish that I could truly say I thought about you on that day. Out there on the beach alone, just you, the wind, the sea, and foam. But I didn't. Until we found you.
The kite during the thunderstorm.
She never talked about him, but Mom told me once if I was a boy, they were going to name me Gus.
Edith said earlier that Dawn lost both her brothers just like she had.
Yeah, and flying a kite during a thunderstorm. I can only imagine what happened. That's...
Yeah, another one where there are a lot of theories about what happened. Mostly either that Gus got struck by lightning while flying his kite, or that there was actually debris in the storm that night, and he ended up getting
got
killed
hit
because
with
of
it.
Yeah. Wait, forgot to look over here. So if I remember correctly... Nope, we can't. I believe this is, Sam's store.
My mom moved up to the loft after her brothers died. At the time, it was as far away as she could get. Religion was another thing my mom never talked about, but I think it helped her a lot after her dad died. She spent a summer building houses in Calcutta, where she met my dad, Sanjay.
Baby, that's a foreign name. Don't laugh.
No, I'm not laughing. I was repressing a sneeze.
Oh, okay.
Don't worry,
My
I
mom moved
wasn't
to India
laughing.
a week after graduation and got a job teaching English. Lewis was born a year later.
Lewis was born a year later.
When my dad died, I don't think Mom knew where else to go. I'm sure Edie was happy to have her back.
Lewis, Milton.
And to see kids in the house again.
And Sanjay died, and Dawn came back here with her kids.
The house had to get a little bigger, but Edie was used to that.
Oh God, we're up so high.
Hey, Edith, seeing as you're pregnant, please don't fall.
Almost normal.
Yeah. Edith. Lewis rules. X. Edith. Barbara, Molly, Sam, Calvin, Gregory, Odin, Gus, Sven. our family history, fact or fiction.
But it didn't last.
Edith Finch, Myth, History, The Curse, by Edith Finch.
So they were taught up here. They're homeschooled.
Yeah, they were taught their family history. Oh. Milton, Lewis, Edith. More environmental storytelling, I see. To teach and to learn. 7 Ways to Create a Fulfilling Classroom by Dawn Finch. She was a teacher. Relief efforts end in disaster. I see. I think I get it, yeah. This must have been what led to Sanjay, aka Edith's father, death. So from the sounds of it, he died helping people.
The beginning of the end was Milton's 10th birthday, when Edie gave him a castle.
Gave him a castle. Milton. 1992, but no death
After Milton
day.
disappeared, the only thing he left behind was a room full of paintings.
Because he only disappeared. They refused to believe that he was dead.
I think Edie was happy to finally have another painter in the family.
Speaking of, it's like stepping into a canvas. Wallpaper world. Just sketches. Milton. Only a birth year.
Milton Finch in The Magic Paintbrush. I was 4 when Milton disappeared.
Out of all the deaths in the family, I think Milton's is the most confused. I guess is the best way to put it. Or confusing is better.
Mom spent months searching for my brother. Then she sealed the doors.
Because, well, they never found a body. They never had a cause of death. And all we have
Whatever
is
Milton
a flip
had found
book.
in the house, Mom didn't want it getting out.
So, frankly, we're not sure what happened to Milton. Really. But personally, I hope whatever he found, that he enjoyed it. And once
Mom
again,
definitely blamed Edie, but I think Lewis blamed himself.
Before we keep going, I'm going to give another major warning for themes of
After he
depression
graduated, he just spent more and more time in his room.
and suicide.
Until Mom got him a job at the cannery.
Yeah, I was afraid of that. Alright.
Everyone always told me to stay out of Lewis's room. Except Lewis.
Boat room.
Lewis's room smelled very, very familiar. That part of him lived on.
Like weed? Look, we're all thinking it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there is marijuana posted in the background, so.
High school diploma.
Lewis and I spent
He
a lot of
probably
time
also
playing games
abused
together,
drugs,
but he was
being
surprisingly bad
completely
at them.
honest.
He
Which
died
would
a
make
lot.
sense for depression.
Yeah. Who's Finch, Lockhart? Intense. One last major trigger warning.
Dear Mrs. Finch, as Lewis's psychiatrist, I can understand your desire for an explanation. As I see it, the trouble began in January, shortly after we convinced your son to seek treatment for substance abuse. Newly sober, I believe Lewis first noticed the monotony of his daily life. He kept working at the cannery, but he withdrew part of himself. In our sessions, I saw the same behavior. His mind began to wander. I asked him to describe it. He said he started small. Imagining a labyrinth. He'd feel his way about. Then something moved. Bats. And toads. And things that have not names. He knew it was all in his head. But he took it very seriously. I had hoped he'd find himself. But he found something more. I worried about him then. Daydreaming at the cannery. I spoke with his boss. But he said Lewis had become a model employee. Methodical, tireless, focused. Like a whole new Lewis. So I let him go on. I even encouraged him. It seemed very promising at first. He told me he'd made a new friend. On the edge of a city he named Lewis Topia. He built the city up slowly, brick by brick. Then he made musicians. And songs for them to play. He talked about starting a band. And he was always humming something. Every day his imagination grew stronger. He no longer spoke at the cannery. But his chopping was as reliable as ever. Then one day it struck him that all the cheering crowds, even the stones under his feet, were all in his imagination. So he could do whatever he wished. He held an election for mayor. And he won. They begged him to stay, but his mind was already wandering. It became a game for him. He'd conquer a city, then immediately push on. New Louisville. St. Louis. He started drifting away from our reality. Minneapolis, until one day he forgot to go home from the cannery. Even as his mother pleaded with him, part of Louis kept sailing on. In Louisburg, he heard rumors of a beautiful prince. The prince was on his own quest for sinister serpents. He followed the sound of his electric sitar. His chase led him to a golden palace east of the sun and west of the moon. Even then, his logic remained sound. He knew the world was all in his imagination. But he was so proud of having created it. In his own eyes, he'd become something greater than a king. For someone who'd never known success in the real world, I think it was overwhelming. And then it struck him that the real Louis was not the one chopping salmon, but the one climbing the steps of a golden palace. My imagination is as real as my body, he told me. It was hard to argue with him. Began to forget the world we know. I think it pained him to remember Louis, the cannery worker. began to despise the man with a royal contempt. I still thought I could save him. Even after he said he was being crowned king over all the lands of wonder. The palace would be packed with his companions. Including the wise Calico who'd insisted on inviting him. His prince waited, holding his crown. There was only one thing left to do. Bend down his head.
No.
And the rest I think you know. Mrs. Finch, your son was a kind man who will be missed by all of us who knew him.
My sincerest condolences.
Jesus, fuck.
My brother was really cool. I wish you could have met him.
I know I think I said earlier that Gregory's death was the most fantastical but most straightforward, but I think Lewis's actually is.
Christ.
Yeah.
As someone who also has quite the imagination, that is scary how much I personally, like, not the suicidal part, but I've had my own history of depression. I've since been, like, recovered from it, but dear God, that honestly probably hits the closest to home.
My mom told me to start packing.
Is that it's so easy to get lost in your own world just to cope with the real one.
Out of all of these, I have to honestly agree that Lewis's hits like the closest.
She
for
waited
me.
until the day before we left to tell Edie. I'm not sure if she wanted to make it easier or harder. I wish we'd stayed. But I understand why we left.
Edith's mom.
My mom ended up leaving everything behind. What happened that night had been coming for a long time. Maybe it should have come sooner.
There's only one child's room left to look at.
But it had to end one way or another. All that's left now is to tell you about that last night.
This is Edith's room.
last day, Edie just watched us pack and didn't say a word. Until supper, when she raised her glass and said,
"To our final night together, and all our final nights apart."
Grandma, you know what I said about alcohol. Some of your medications are very
Edith,
specific.
I left a present for you in the hallway. Why don't you go open it? The grown-ups have to argue now.
I'm sorry, you're right. We're all leaving tomorrow. Let's just enjoy our last...
I'm not leaving.
Edith, you're excused.
the power had been shut off.
The immediate snap to argue just to be like, you're not leaving. God.
Or that Edie had a key to it.
It's the library.
That thing you're afraid of isn't going to end when you leave the house. Edith has a right to know these stories.
My children are dead because of your stories. I think it's best if Edith and I leave tonight. We'll have the nursing home send a van for you in the morning, okay?
That is honestly one of the most powerful lines in this game. My children are dead because of your stories.
Because of your stories. And she's not wrong, because...
There's so many stories I wish I could tell you, but there's only time for one.
Sorry.
This is about what happened on the night you were born. That night, the tide went way, way out.
What were you saying?
Okay, before we... Yeah. I was going to say that, like, and the thing is, she's not wrong. Constantly not batting an eye at the deaths. Constantly, or basically reminding everyone of them. Of... Memorials are good when it's not just celebrating their death. And... like, it's important to remember those who have passed away. But there's a difference between remembering them and obsessing over them, I think is the key.
It was the
and
first
this
and
is
last
obsession.
time I ever saw the old house aground. There'd
This
been
is
an
obsession,
earthquake
definitely.
out in the middle of the ocean. They called it the lowest tide in 1,000 years. God, it smelled awful. You know, I've seen that house every day of my life. But I never thought I'd go back to it. When the fog rolled in, I lost my way. I got turned around. For a while, I wandered. I started seeing things. Things I'd forgotten had ever existed. But when I saw them, they felt like old friends. That night, a lot of things came back to me. Or maybe I came back to them. Things I can't explain, but that I need you to try and...
Edith, what are you doing in here?
It's mine.
Edith!
Mom, you're gonna rip it! Let go!
I kicked and screamed, but Mom dragged me to the car, and I never saw Great-Grandma Edie again. The next morning, the band came to pick her up, but she was already gone. After that, we moved around a lot. We both tried to make the best of it. A few years went by. My mom didn't like to talk about it, but she started getting sick a lot. The rest happened pretty quickly. She got better for a while, and then she didn't. And then I was alone. The last Finch left alive. Until I found out about you. I'm still not sure what to tell you about all this. If we lived forever, maybe we'd have time to understand things. But as it is, I think the best we can do is try to open our eyes.
Love the toilet flushing
And
sound.
appreciate how strange and brief all of this is. This journal was supposed to be for you. But now I hope you'll never see it. I just want to meet you.
Oh, I better have muted while I was using the bathroom.
I mean, we heard the flush, so.
God damn it! I was trying not to interrupt. I thought I was. Sorry, gang. Sorry.
Good job.
Oh God, I'm so sorry if you heard bathroom sounds. I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry.
Oh, that
all I
was a
heard
moment.
was the flush.
It's a lot to ask.
Okay,
I
good.
don't want you to be sad that I'm gone. I want you to be amazed that any of us ever had a chance to be here at all. Good luck.
Edith Finch, 1999 to January 2017. She was 18 years old.
God.
The implication is that she died in childbirth.
Yeah, I figured it was during childbirth.
And that's what remains of Edith Finch.
Man, I completely cut the tension at the end there. I apologize thoroughly.
Good job, huh?
I apologize so thoroughly, stream. I'm so sorry. That should have been far more emotional than it was. My apologies. I fucked up. I thought I was muted. My bad.
You were not muted for the flush.
I'm sorry.
The end of everything. Finish all stories. I just got an achievement.
So we don't get to... Well, we know about the mom's death, but Edith is still up in the air.
Well, I think it's implied. It's implied with the mix of her medication, alcohol, and general age that she died due to, well, mixture of medication and alcohol messing with her already poor health.
Yeah.
Which leaves one unnamed Finch left, which is Edith's son.
I hope that kid has a good life ahead of him.
I hope so too.
Because it'd be sad for this entire family to go through what they've gone through just for the last remaining thread that could have been to suddenly go out.
I mean, technically, Edith was kind of that, last remaining hope, but clearly she's not there anymore.
Well, no, because she left it with her kid with that book. She told all the stories that she could and left behind the entire family history that could be told about.
But...
And she literally wrote it all down.
Well, the issue is, Edith even said herself that she thinks maybe the stories themselves might be the problem.
Yeah,
so...
but, I mean, with that text that appeared all throughout the story, it seems like she wrote everything that appeared down, which means that she did write all the stories down.
She definitely did, yeah.
So even though the stories were the problem, it just seems like at least they're all in compilation, not all fragmented. They're all together, no matter it, probably not in their entirety, not entirely the truth, and like without really like glaring at it and squinting about what happened, but in the ways that they can be preserved, they're there. And in this story, that's all they should have been from the start. Preserving the memory and nothing more. Not obsession, not constantly getting used to it. Nothing like that. Writing it down, having that history, and moving on.
Now, at the end of the game, you're kind of left with the question of what really happened to the Finches? As in, was there a curse, or was it sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy? Did they make a curse happen, or did it always exist? And frankly, I don't think we should get an answer.
I'm amidst of that, but my whole thing is that whether there was a curse or if it was a placebo effect, the question is, does it fucking matter at this point? Everyone has died except for one son. Does it really matter at this point whether or not there actually was or wasn't a curse?
Honestly, that is a really good point. I never thought about that. Oh, replay a story. You can go through just one story if you want.
Yeah. I don't think it matters, because at the end of the day, I think it's more so just like, whether it was or wasn't true, things happened to the Finches. Every branch and leaf of this tree died just because they believed in it and because they obsessed over death, especially Edith, Edie, specifically
Senior.
Edie. Yeah,
Or
Edith Senior.
Edie, to prevent confusion.
Yeah, Edie. She obsessed over it to the point of where everyone's life was plagued by it.
Like, we even heard, like, Edie set up their rooms to be memorials, and when Dawn sealed the doors, Edie retaliated by drilling the peepholes.
Yeah. At this point, it's a thing of, I think that in the end, Dawn had the right idea, was to remember it, but to stop making memorials out of their entire lives. Because that's what the grave should have been for. That's all it should have been. We already made the graves, let it stop and end there.
But then there were the graves and also the memorials, and Edie was participating in news stories, encouraging them.
Yeah, encouraging them, basically making a fucking show out of it. And I think that's the key. She wasn't just obsessive to the point where it was just a family thing. She made it everyone's problem. She made it into a fucking story.
She took every spectacle she could, like, with her refusing to leave during the forest fires, the thing with the quote-unquote mole man, which was actually a story about her own son who was living under the house.
Yeah. She didn't take another of her son's, like, deaths seriously when it was an accident.
Kept the photos of it.
Kept the photos of it and even enhanced them. This is... Yeah.
It's implied Edie also, like, helped in the making of the comic that, displayed Barbara's death. Because, like I said, there were a lot of specifics about the house that you wouldn't know unless you lived in it. And Edie definitely would have motivation to encourage those kind of stories.
Yeah. So, I think this is not only a thing of obsession with death, but an obsession with making that curse famous. For basically taking your family history and making a show out of it just for the sake of eyes. And which Dawn eventually, like, they grew close over the years. I think that it's to a point of where it was basically abuse up until she finally grew up enough to realize that this story that her mother kept, like, showing off to people, it was only harming the family, and for them to a deadly degree. And after the point where it gets to one of her sons disappearing and another's fucking suicide from it, that is the point of enough is enough, and there shouldn't be any more.
Yeah, I mean, Edith said after Lewis's funeral, that's when they started packing up to leave.
Yeah, I think Lewis was the final straw on the camel's back.
Definitely Lewis was the final straw.
And all she had left was her one daughter, who was fucking named after her grandmother. Or great-grandmother.
Yeah. Need I remind you, was only 11 at the time.
Yeah. So... yeah, I think after the stream, I'm going to fully share you my thoughts on what makes me think Ida is the bad guy of this story, but because I have personal experiences, and God knows I'm not getting into that on a stream.
That's entirely fair.
But all I will say is that what Ida does here hits a little too close to home for me. And that's all I'm gonna say on the matter, on stream at least.
I'm going to give my more in-depth thoughts about the story when I make my video.
That's fair.
For now, I would like to leave with this. The Finch's family is a story of repeated tragedy that, instead of being remembered, was memorialized, if that makes sense. It was a thing of stardom, and that's where it really went wrong. The fact that it was, I guess best way to put it, was kind of glorified.
It was glorification of a thing that may or may not have even been real. And it doesn't matter whether or not it was real. The fact that it was taken seriously was the mistake.
I think the thing that gets me the most about What Remains of Edith Finch is that most of the deaths in this story were children. Like, Barbara, Molly, Calvin, Gregory, Gus, Milton. They were children at the time. Edith was like, not Edith, Lewis was in his early 20s. Actually, yeah, Edith was 17, maybe 18.
Yeah.
Like, it was a bunch of basically kids that were dragged into this family curse.
Like, sure, some lucky souls got into their 40s or 50s, but even then, that was still half their life that they still had left to go, at least.
God, yeah, it's a really hard-hitting game. But at the end of the day, it leaves us with questions. And I think that some of those questions are kind of... I guess the best way to put it is that they're delved too deep into. I'm not gonna elaborate more for now, but I will elaborate when I finally make that video. I may be a bit more in the oh, I almost spoiled it. A bit more in the other research stream. Silly me, I almost spoiled it.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, I hope you all have a good day, have a good night, and just in general, have a good life.
Mentally take care of yourself.
Absolutely. Take care of yourself, and tell your family that you love them.
Because it sure as hell is better than this family.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna say it, but yeah. But seriously though, tell your loved ones that you love them. I think that's a good thing to take away from this. Not even because you don't know when that next I love you will be its last, but just while you have your time, make sure that you use it to just spread your love for people close to you. We only have so much time. Use it wisely. Goodbye.
Bye.